So, hey guys, hi. My name is Neha, and that's Anirban, and together we are, members of Skilled Immigrants in America. And as you can see, this is our, YouTube page. The whole idea of talking to you guys today is that the executive order. We were hoping in our hearts that that executive order would never come by, but knowing the way things have been with immigration here in this country in the past few years, it didn't come as a surprise. Whatever the administration has been trying to, get to push through Congress, which they were not able to, they're not now trying to get it done using pandemic and economic crisis and unemployment as one of the reasons. So very quickly, we created a video for all of your benefit. We posted it on our YouTube page. This is our YouTube page, Skilled Immigrants in America, right? And if you look up this video, we talk about the executive order in detail here. So we just quickly want to go over it. And I also want to reiterate that we are not lawyers. This is not legal advice. We've been living in this country to know the immigration system pretty much inside out. So, if you have any comments or any questions, feel free to, comment below in the comment section, and definitely subscribe to this channel so that all the information, it reaches you. And whatever slides and whatever links we are going to be using in today's, this discussion, it will be included as part of description of this video. So here we go. The executive order, well, it came on June 22nd. It was released, and it's actually bans green card issuance outside the US. Okay, and that has been extended. So what that means, Anirban, you want to go in detail about that?
Right. So basically, the green card issuance was blocked from outside US in the April executive order. And the first thing that they did was they basically extended it now, I guess, towards the end of the year. So the April executive order had it like they were going to review it after a certain period of time. That period of time has now come. So they have decided to extend it, considering the economic impacts and everything going on. They basically decided to extend it. So no green card issuance from the consulates continues.
Okay. Okay, that's great. I'm sorry, my phone rang in between. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and going on to the next slide. Okay, what's going on? Okay, the executive order basically uses the two-pronged approach, which is the immediate changes and longer term changes, which will be made through rulemaking. So the first immediate change is that there's suspension of entry to the United States of America. And what our fear is that these changes may become long-term changes by way of rulemaking. So, like a lot of changes to immigration actually happen through rulemaking. There's an entire process to it where public gets to comment, and there's a review done, and it's reviewed again, and all of that. It's a lengthy process. So, Anirban, do you want to delve into it and tell us?
Right. So there are certain sections in that in the executive order, which obviously is concerning to people living inside the U.S. So obviously, based on the clause of 212F, the president's executive order primarily affects those who are outside the country. So it bans entry of visa holders. It bans, obviously green card issuance outside the country. But essentially, people who are already living and working in the US are pretty much not impacted. So the way they did it is the only way that can be changed is through rulemaking. So the president in his executive order ordered DOS, DOL, and USCIS to basically look into ways where they can go into rulemaking and basically do some sort of proposed rule, go into the final rulemaking stage by trying to see what can be done in order to, protect American workers and protect American jobs, so that those jobs go to Americans first.
Right. Now, what has happened because of this is, the entire pandemic situation, the lockdowns across countries happened quite suddenly. No one was really prepared for this, and there were a lot of people who were due to get their stampings done, who are now stuck in India because the consulates are closed. Now the consulates might open very soon because India is already in the unlock phase. But what happens to these, say, spouses or H1Bs who have valid visa, but they were just waiting for stamping, and that stamping didn't happen because the consular offices are closed, the consulates are closed?
Right. So it is unfortunate because these people have approved 797s, which means they already have jobs in the US. Executive order primarily is to allow Americans to get back into the job market, right? If the unemployment is high because of the pandemic, and they want Americans to get jobs quickly. So the idea is that when these jobs are available, they go to the Americans first instead of the immigrants. But if somebody has a job, has an approved I-797, that means they're already working in the US.
Yeah.
They just went to India, get their stamping down, probably to meet their families, and unfortunately they are now stuck, it is very unfortunate.
Right, and in many a case, what I've been hearing from people have reached out to me directly. Their spouses on H4 are stuck in India with US born kids.
Right.
Okay, what happens then? Are they eligible to come back once the consulates are open and they're able to get stamping done?
Right. So that's the gray area. So what one place they say that obviously people who have valid visas stamped on their passports, but they're outside the country, they're allowed to enter, and no new visas will be issued. But there was some discussions like, okay, if the H1B is already in the US, then the H4 will be allowed to enter. But we'll see what happens with that.
Okay, so that's the gray area. Okay, and sad. This is sad. This is really sad. Moving on to the next slide. So the third slide, we talk about the visa categories that are affected by the ban, which I'm sure most of you know. Till now, it's the H1B and the entire family, the dependent family, H2B and family, L visa and family, J visa and family. But subcategories like intern, trainee, teacher, camp counselor, au pair, or summer work travel program, these are some of the J visa categories that are completely affected by the ban, right? So so this ban will stay in effect until 6 months? Is that what it is, till December?
The ban is till the end of this year. So
the end of 2020. Okay. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide. Okay, the limitation of entry in the US, which is suspending entry of aliens, it applies to those outside the US as of 24th June 2020. So if you or your spouse is outside of US as of 24th June 2020, it applies to you. It also applies to those who don't have valid visa stamped on their passport as of 24th June 2020, which is what we talked about just a little while ago. And it also applies to those who don't have a travel document or an advance parole document. What kind of travel documents are they talking about here, Anirban?
So basically there are people who are obviously waiting for their green cards, who are in the adjustment of status stage. So they receive advanced parole documents because they don't probably have visas anymore. Right. So these people can use their travel document and they can still re-enter the US. So the advanced parole document has been provided to them so that they are going through the adjustment of status stage. And like I said, because the president cannot ban and cannot stop adjustment of status within the US, those people are still allowed to re-enter.
Right, and I just want to reiterate this, whatever discussion we are having right now is not a legal advice of any sort or not legal analysis, or neither is it prepared by an attorney. If you have an immigration attorney for your personal immigration case, that's what we recommend. If you have any questions, as part of the community, we can probably help you because we've been in similar situations. But if you have specific questions unique to your case, please definitely refer to an immigration attorney. Now, the suspension of entry does not apply to a few people, which is great because spouses and children of US citizens are not citizen yet. What does that mean? I mean, are they the legal permanent residents?
Right, yes. So basically, the spouses and children of U.S. permanent residents, U.S. citizens are essentially, falling under the immediate relative quota. They probably don't, even if they don't have green cards, they will probably get green cards very soon because there's no quota for it. But because they are, immediate family members of U.S. citizens, they are still allowed to re-enter.
Okay.
Obviously, like you said, essential employees in the food supply chain is done.
Yeah.
That would involve obviously everybody who is, because of the pandemic that's going on. They don't want that to be.
Right.
And the other thing that I want to add is green card holders are also exempted from the ban. So permanent residents are allowed to re-enter the US.
Okay, and national interest cases, which I would assume are healthcare professionals, diplomats, and the like.
Right. I mean, there is some discussion if it involves the NIW people who qualify for EB2 NIW, but that needs to be seen. I think it's mostly like on a case by case basis. So maybe the visa officers at the consulate will decide.
Right. Yeah, and like it's mentioned here, if there are any exemptions, it will be at the discretion of Department of State and or Department of Homeland Security. But again, this is where the gray area is, because the rules are not defined. We don't know what those discretions would be, right? We don't know how this is going to turn out for everybody, right? But the good part, this is the good part. A child's age will be frozen during the ban to prevent them from aging out. So if your child was turning 21, is turning 21 in say tomorrow, right? So your date will be frozen today. So that's the good news.
Right. The good news is only for children who are, affected by the ban. So if you're not allowed to enter the US because it affects people, many of them who are coming to the US directly with the green card.
Yeah.
And if since green card issuance have been stopped at this time, that's the reason why they have frozen the child's age, because so that they don't age out and they cannot enter. But it does not apply to the children who are already in the US. So H4 visa holders, children who are already in the US, it does not apply to them. It only applies to those children who are outside the US, are affected by the ban and cannot enter while they're waiting for their green cards.
Okay. And then, like we discussed a little.
Right. So this is the big part, and I think this is where people, already living and working in the U.S. should be concerned. So the idea is basically, as we know, the executive order does not affect those who are working in the U.S., but that's where the president asked DOL, DOS, and DHS to look into new regulations. And then it was very specifically said that people who are seeking green cards in the EB2 and EB3 categories, so they exempted EB1s, ironically, and they exempted EB5s. EB4s are really just workers, so that's fine. But he was very specific in the EB2 and EB3 categories. So it said that the idea is basically to make sure, the jobs are given to the highest paid, and, American workers have first dibs at the jobs that are available. So this could be multiple things. This could lead to a wage, doing, wage verifications, new LCAs for every amendment. It could obviously mean, repeal of the H4EAD, which the administration has been trying for a while. But as we would like to say, this is not something that will be done, at the snap of a finger. This has to go through rulemaking.
Exactly. Yeah. And I cannot help but notice EB1 category is not included in this.
Right. I mean, I think that's primarily because EB1A and EB1Bs are, people with exceptional, abilities. So that's ruled out. But ironically, right. But EB1Cs get a free pass. Yes.
Okay. And then H4EAD and F1 visa are not mentioned in the EO, but that's our concern because there's no clarity to it. It's
right. I think this point basically relates back to obviously the previous slide. So H4EAD, F1 OPT, nothing has been mentioned. Obviously nothing about H1Bs, higher salaries. Obviously there's been a lot of talk about all these things, but nothing is mentioned specifically about these things. It's basically like it said in the slide. It's open-ended. So the president essentially directed the federal agencies to come up with proposed rules and rulemaking
Right.
to get these done.
Right. Okay. And I just noticed a typo. Sorry about that. Sorry about that little typo here. But okay. Just want to reiterate, we are all volunteers here, and this is not legal advice. Again, there's a little a little disclosure right here at the bottom. Okay, so the good news is that this executive order will be reviewed in 30 days from June 24th, and then every 60 days for potential changes. So that means, I mean, it is set in stone, but if there is enough uproar about a particular situation, the government may think about going back on it on humanitarian grounds. There is a possibility that might happen.
I think the government is ready to face legal challenges on this.
Yeah.
I think we were expecting these executive order to come out like 3 weeks before, but essentially there was a delay. We know there was a big push from the tech companies to delay it. You know, they talked about all these potential changes. So we'll see. We think that the Trump administration will probably keep extending it. Obviously, the elections are in November, so I think it is safe to say that these executive order will probably stay till the end of his presidency. So
okay,
if it ends in November, that is.
right, yeah, and everything will change if things change in November.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
By Jan, yes.
Yes, true. Now, the executive order does not talk about any changes in visa processing within the US. So if there are extensions, change of status or amendments, it does not talk about it. So that's again another gray area. I don't know if we should be happy about this one or we should be concerned about this one. I don't know.
Right. So, like I said, the Clause 212F obviously allows the president to ban entry into the United States, but not to touch people who are already in the United States, and that's basically what it does. So, H1B extensions will be fine. H1B amendments will be fine. H1B to H4, changes of status are fine. H4 extensions, H4 EADs, everything should go on as it is. Even filing new perms, filing I-140s, even filing adjustment of status, as well as green card issuance within the United States should continue.
Right, but we all know what's happening with H4 EAD renewals. So that's taking forever. Okay, also the executive order does not talk about processing of immigrant petitions like I-140 or I-485 or labor certifications, which is the perm. So that's another gray area. Anirban, what are your thoughts?
This should continue. So nothing should change here because nothing should change for people who are already in the United States. These are all, visa extension statuses, green card applications. So, DOL and USCIS should continue, processing perms and I-140s as they're going. They are also releasing visa bulletins. So, if their priority date becomes current, they can file adjustment of status, and those applications should continue nevertheless. There should be no changes in those.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this slideshow. We are skilled immigrants in America, and this is not legal advice, but I wanted to go over a statement that was released by USCIS today. It's on their website, and again, this link will be included as part of the description of this video. And I'm just gonna, read it as is, and I quote, Monday's presidential proclamation temporarily restricts certain categories of visas from being issued to protect jobs for American workers while our economy recovers from the effects of COVID-19. This does not affect those currently working in the US on valid H1B or similar visas. The proclamation also does not prevent individuals in possession of valid visas prior to the effective date of the proclamation from entering or re-entering the country if they have been abroad, provided they have not otherwise rendered themselves inadmissible. The US will continue to honor these already valid visas as we help American workers get back on their feet, unquote. This is the quote issued by USCIS Deputy Director for Policy, Joseph Erlo. So this is, a statement that was issued today. And okay, and also the US Department of State Consular Affairs, they issued some, FAQs on the proclamation. Basically, it talks about pretty much what we've already covered in our slide, but some of the questions, like for example, people have questions like they already have an approved H1B, H2B, J or L petition from DHS, and they're waiting for the visa interview. What does this presidential proclamation mean for them? And it's explained here. Per Section 3 of the Presidential Proclamation, suspension of entry applies to any alien who does not have a non-immigrant visa that is valid on the effective date of this proclamation. And there's link for exceptions. But Anirban, honestly, I am a little confused here, and maybe you could help. Like H4 visa holders, if they, and this might sound a little silly, they are already there with a valid I-797. That means they have a valid visa, right? It's just the stamping that is missing. So why would, like from common sense perspective, why would?
Right, I-797 is essentially given by USCIS. So
Yeah,
that's based on, so if you're talking about the H4, that depends on the primary visa holder's status, whatever. So H1, if the H1B has an approved I-797, they're applying for extension, they get the extension too. The difference between the 797 and having the visa is basically the two different agencies that are working here. 797 is given by USCIS, right? So that's within the US. If you're living in US, you get that.
yeah,
That's basically your status living in the US. But essentially, once you immediately leave the country,
yes,
and in order to re-enter, you need a visa, and that is given by Department of State.
right,
So what this executive order does is it tells the Department of State to stop issuing visas. So once a person has an I-797 approved, but if that person is outside the country, they are not going to get a visa because the executive order
yeah,
essentially suspends issuance of visas.
right, right,
That is the problem.
right. But
So
good news is that this executive order will be reviewed every 30 days. So if there are enough people in a similar situation where their families are separated, if you all get together, maybe, the government will think about something, I don't know, on humanitarian grounds. You never know. So on that note, I just want to tell you guys, I want to thank you guys for joining us today. And we are Skilled Immigrants in America. Please subscribe to our YouTube page here, and be sure to leave your comments. If you have any questions, we will try to get them answered as soon as we possibly can. Again, this is Neha and Anirban. Anirban, do you want to say something?
right. I mean, obviously, it is very unfortunate for those who are stuck outside. We have received, multiple queries about people. Somebody who's, the H1B is here. The H4 went with their child to India, probably just for stamping, and they are stuck outside. The children are U.S. citizens. Unfortunately, they cannot come back.
Yeah.
If we want to hear from you. There are certain things that obviously there are legal viewpoints that we are viewing. We think there could be certain sections of this executive order that can be challenged. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories, and we want to see what we can do to help anybody who is in this situation. And we are obviously looking into all possibilities of what can be done. So
Yeah.
if somebody wants to sign up as a plaintiff, in a lawsuit, we will contact you if that situation arises. But we definitely reach out to us, and we will try as much as possible to help you out, or give you some sort of clarity.
Right. Just subscribe to us on our YouTube channel here, and leave your comments. And we have multiple WhatsApp groups. Join us there, and our Telegram also. You could visit our website SIIA.us and join us on Telegram. And stay safe, everybody. Stay strong, and stay together, because that's what we need at this point in time. We want to be holding each other up, lifting each other up in these difficult times. And on that note, this is Neha and Anirban saying bye-bye.
Bye.